Welcome to Spot On Basics. I'm Rebecca Monet with Zorakle Profiles. Zorakle provides profiling tools to franchisors and franchise consultants that helps facilitate a right fit between a prospective franchisee and a franchise concept. The Zorakle tools are based on 7 statistically validated sciences, one of which we're going to talk about today, the stages of growth of a franchise organization. We're going to talk about stage 2, called the partnership organization today. But before we get there, what is it that determines franchisee-franchisor fit? So here's what I recommend. Always ask yourself, does this prospective franchisee share our values as a franchise organization? Now, if you're a franchise consultant, what you're asking yourself is, does this prospective franchisee share this franchisor's values? And does this prospective franchisee fit within this franchisor's current stage of growth? And do they fit within this franchisor's culture? And will they appreciate, leverage, and comply with that franchisor's systems and processes? And then, and only then, I would ask myself, do they have the skills necessary to grow that business? And do their skills as a prospective franchisee complement the strategic plans of that franchise organization? So let's talk more specifically about stage 2, what we call a partnership franchise organization. So keep in mind, we're always looking at 5 key factors that will let you know where a franchise system is in terms of their evolution and current stage of growth. So first, we're looking at what is the management style of that franchise system, and what is the organizational structure of that franchise organization, and what is the extent of their formal systems and processes, and what is their major initiatives and strategies where they are currently in their stage of growth, and how involved is the concept originator, the founder, within that particular business. So this handy dandy table will kind of give you a bird's eye view of each stage of growth of a franchise organization, and you can tell pretty quickly where a franchise organization is based on these 5 particular markers. So the stage 2 franchisor is a franchisor that typically has gotten to that place where they have either brought on a strong operational person, or they have brought on a strong sales and development individual. So the franchisor realizes he needs to divide and conquer. He can't do it all. He's gone through the crises of leadership and still wants to innovate. And so now he's going to align himself with either a strong salesperson that will offload some things with him, or a strong operational person, so he can stay focused on leadership and he can stay focused on continuing to innovate. So it's a highly collaborative organization, which is now starting to focus on best practices. They're focused on getting from those early franchisees best practices, and they're memorializing those best practices. So as you can tell, in stage 2, the organizational structure is starting to grow. We now have, an ops department and maybe a marketing department and a couple of people that are reporting up. And the concept originator isn't responsible for it all, but instead there are going to be department heads, usually just a couple of department heads. The focus here is on best practices, if you recall. But what's happened is now they are very clear on their product offering. In fact, oftentimes by stage 2, the product offering is a little bit different than what it was in stage 1. They now see that this product has a great ROI, but this other product maybe it didn't have as much demand, or the cost of goods is too much. So we're much clearer in stage 2 as to the products and services we are offering as franchisors to the world and to our franchisees. So the systems, of course, are still somewhat basic, but we are going out to our early stage franchisees and we are getting a better idea of what's working and what's not working. And we're beginning to proceduralize them and create some replicable systems that can then go out to that next wave of franchisees. Now, the major strategy in stage 2 is all about systems and best practices. And so a lot of resources are going to extracting those best practices and then implementing them so we can easily then teach them to our next wave of franchisees. So, what are the benefits to a franchisee who comes into a stage 2 franchise system? Well, obviously, there is some market awareness now. Typically, a franchisor that is in stage 2 is probably around 20 to 70 units. Obviously, I've seen bigger franchise systems that are still operating like a partnership or a stage 2, but kind of figure somewhere between 20 and 70 franchisees. So there's some market awareness and there's clearer understanding of what the franchisor is bringing to the table and the complementary skills that are required by the prospective franchisee. And one of the benefits, of course, is it's a very collaborative, almost family-like environment that a prospective franchisee is going to work and play in if they choose to become part of a stage 2. Now, there's still some fabulous territory available, but a lot of the dust has settled in stage 2. Now, what are some of the challenges in stage 2? Now, obviously, one of the challenges that we begin to see in stage 2 is if this wonderful widget or this great new service that was discovered in stage 1 is so fabulous, there are going to be competitors that are taking notice and they're going to be coming into the field and competing with a stage 2 company. So there's increased competition where we may not have had that in stage 1. Also, early stage franchisees may be having difficulty embracing the new systems, right? In stage 1, the systems were pretty lax, where there was a pretty minimal. And so now in stage 2, we have greater systems in place. And those franchisees that came in stage 1 may be having difficulty because there's a learning curve with it, or they've gotten used to doing things their own way. One of the other challenges with a stage 2 franchise organization, of course, is they've proven themselves. So oftentimes they are the investors and private equity firms may find a stage 2 franchisor very fascinating. So there's some potential that a stage 2 franchisor might have an investor come in and do some kind of a buyout. So let's look at Ellie Grenner and Neil Churchill's work once again, keeping in mind a size of organization and age of organization is some of the markers that will let us know how this organization will continue to grow and the challenges that they might incur. So a stage 2 franchise organization is going to grow through having clear direction, right? And so the focus here for a franchisor to continue to grow is to have some strategies in place and some clear, this is the end result that we're going to want, and the ability to show that same direction to corporate employees and franchisees. We're all going in this particular direction. And the more we focus on this in stage 2, the faster we are going to grow. And of course, if we get people to collaborate with us and to buy in and have consensus with that, that will expedite that even more. Now, the crises that a stage 2 franchisor is going to experience is what we call a crisis of autonomy. Remember those early stage franchisees in stage 1 that had minimal systems and minimal training and support simply because the franchisor was so busy doing a million other things? They're used to being autonomous. They're used to doing things their own way. And now we're rolling out some great systems that will help them, but they've gotten used to being autonomous. And that will cause some challenges and crises and will cause some pushback by those early stage franchisees. In fact, some of those early stage franchisees may not be long-term players. They may actually choose to begin to exit. And one of the other things that might happen here is, especially if you're a franchisor and you're a franchise consultant, is some of those early stage franchisees are not necessarily happy that they're having to be more accountable. And so there might be a little bit of whining or a little bit of validation issues going on. So let's look at the spot on profile. This particular candidate is scoring beautifully in stage 2 and stage 3. So he fits perfectly. He too is a collaborator. He knows things are still somewhat dynamic, but he appreciates that certain systems are already in place. So he is a true partner mentality prospective franchisee that is also capable of growing to stage 3. So this is a long-term player, a prospective franchisee that fits where we are today and is going to fit for a long time, because a plug-and-play franchisor, it can be 300 to 500 franchisees. So here's another great example of what you might see in a stage of growth printout on the spot on profile. This is a candidate that scores in a 2 and he scores in a 5, a hybrid. We're going to cover that in another spot on basics training. But in the meantime, know that this candidate is a great fit in this particular franchise organization. We're always looking for fit, right? It's always about Z to Zor fit. A franchisee that fits well is going to validate well, retain well, perform well. He or she is going to be much more satisfied, and that's always what we're looking for. So you want to consider the stages of growth when you are considering, is this a franchisee that fits well in our franchise system? If you're a franchisor, or if you're a franchise consultant, what franchise system will my candidate who scores as a stage 2, which franchise systems do you have within your inventory that would be a good fit for your prospective franchisee? So stay tuned as we go on to train in stage 3. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you do more.